Gold just had its worst week in 43 years, and nobody on Wall Street can explain it. Worse than after September 11th, worse than 2008. The so-called ultimate safe haven just collapsed, and I am going to walk you through exactly why. Plus, China is quietly assembling an anti-American coalition from everyone Washington managed to alienate. The Pentagon just fired the general running the ground operation mid-conflict, and the White House wants $1.5 trillion for a conflict the president says is almost over. I have saved the most fascinating part for the very end, so stay with me. If you find this kind of independent analysis valuable, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and if you really want to support what we do, consider becoming a channel sponsor or use the Super Thanks feature below this video. Every episode takes hours of research and fact-checking, because getting the story wrong is not an option. Your support keeps this channel independent. Now let us get into it. Here is the headline that should be on every front page, but somehow is not. China is building a coalition, not a military one, a diplomatic one, and it includes basically everyone the United States managed to push away over the past several months. A former intelligence officer laid out what is actually happening behind the scenes, and it is far more sophisticated than anything coming out of Washington right now. As one analyst put it, the maps of the world are being redrawn before our eyes. And this is night and day compared to what comes out of Washington, where every hour one statement contradicts the previous one. Beijing is pulling together an ad hoc alliance of nations with a vested interest in ending the crisis choking the Strait of Hormuz. Europe, which cut itself off from Russian energy and now depends entirely on Middle Eastern supplies. Japan, Southeast Asian nations, even Ukraine, which understands that every dollar poured into the Gulf conflict is a dollar not spent on its own survival. And who benefits from all of this dragging on? Russia. Every day the strait stays disrupted, Russian oil exports surge and revenues skyrocket. Beijing sees this clearly and is offering something Washington cannot, a path to de-escalation that does not involve dropping more bombs. But here is where it gets really interesting. While China plays chess on the diplomatic board, Washington is playing musical chairs with its own generals. The defense secretary just fired the army chief of staff, the very general planning the ground operation the president keeps promising. His replacement? A personal advisor someone compared to a young Putin carrying Sobchak's suitcase. According to multiple analysts, the new chief is intellectually below the level of the secretary himself, and the secretary is not exactly setting a high bar. You know what makes this even more absurd? The secretary was boasting about total air dominance just days before Iran's supposedly destroyed air defenses shot down an American F-15. One pilot was rescued after ejecting. The second pilot's fate remains unknown. Iranian state media is broadcasting wreckage footage. A television anchor in Tehran announced a bounty for capturing the pilots alive. And the Pentagon? No comment. Now, speaking of contradictions, the president addressed the nation and declared that the enemy is practically destroyed. Sounds decisive, right? Except on the very same day, the White House submitted a budget request for $1.5 trillion in defense spending. That is more than 40% increase, the largest jump since the Second World War. To pay for it, they propose slashing healthcare, housing, social services, and scientific research by 10%. If the enemy is destroyed, why do you need the biggest military budget in modern history? Republican members of Congress are already raising eyebrows because those cuts hit their own voters. Daily costs have reached $1 billion. Gas prices crossed $4 a gallon for the first time since 2022. And the administration actually proposed seizing enriched uranium from an underground facility using bulldozers. Military experts called it one of the most complex operations imaginable with enormous risks. Bulldozers into a fortified nuclear site. I will let that sink in. If you are still with me, drop a comment below. I genuinely want to hear your thoughts. Hit that like button. It helps more people see this because the algorithm rewards engagement, and this is the kind of information that should not stay buried. Now let me take you to the economic side because the financial signals right now are genuinely alarming. The latest payroll numbers came out on a day when stock markets were closed and bonds only traded until noon. Economists were expecting recovery after a brutal February that saw 92,000 jobs lost. The March report showed 178,000 new jobs, which the administration immediately called brilliant. But a senior strategist at JP Morgan warned that markets have not fully priced in the scale or duration of this energy shock. And she raised a critical point. Most analysts are treating this as a growth shock, meaning the economy slows. But if the labor market stays hot and workers keep demanding higher wages, this becomes an inflationary shock instead, and the market is completely unprepared for that scenario. Oil is at multi-year highs. A first Western vessel flying a French flag just passed through the Strait of Hormuz since the conflict began, sending mixed signals. The National Economic Council director appeared on television calling the jobs report brilliant and promising a golden age. When asked directly whether 4% growth is possible with oil above $100, his answer was yes. The confidence is almost impressive. But wait, there is a layer most people are missing entirely. While the administration talks about golden ages, the vice president was named the fraud czar, leading a crackdown on government waste focused on blue states. 8 people arrested in Los Angeles in a $50 million medical fraud case. More than 200 hospices shut down in 10 weeks. A federal prosecutor called California the Kingdom of Fraud. Meanwhile, the White House plan for a new ballroom got approved, the biggest structural change to the building in 70 years. A federal judge immediately paused it until Congress signs off. A ballroom while the budget is being torn apart for military spending. You see where this is going? Now here is something that did not get enough attention. A bill in Congress could dramatically restrict China's access to key artificial intelligence technologies. On the same day, the president claimed crushing victories and declared the Iranian Navy and Air Force destroyed. An American F-15 was shot down. The contradiction writes itself. Elsewhere, Cuba is in a full-blown energy crisis. Hours-long lines for gasoline, schools without electricity, hospitals without medicine. Peaceful protests are escalating into confrontations. And in a story that sounds like fiction but is absolutely not, an investigation revealed that guides on one of the world's most famous mountains were drugging climbers' food to trigger medical emergencies, then arranging expensive helicopter evacuations. A $20 million fraud scheme built on altitude sickness and trust. And now for the story I saved for last. The White House proposed privatizing airport security. TSA employs around 50,000 federal workers. The budget would cut their funding by $52 million, while more than 500 employees already quit recently because they were not getting paid due to budget disputes. Think about this logic. Workers leave because the government cannot pay them. The solution? Stop trying to pay them altogether and hand it to private companies. The budget documents claim airports using the privatization program have shown cost savings. But here is what they do not mention. You are cutting security funding at the exact moment you are spending $500 billion more on the military. The message could not be clearer. We will spend whatever it takes to project power overseas, but keeping you safe at the airport? That is someone else's problem now. Over 13,000 detained migrants were ordered deported to third countries, not their home countries. A televangelist compared the president to Jesus Christ on Good Friday. The deleted White House video had the president saying, "I am going to tell everyone how great I am and what a great job I have done." I keep watching all of this unfold, and I keep coming back to the same thought. The world is reshuffling itself before our eyes. China is building coalitions. The Pentagon is firing generals mid-conflict. The economy is caught between an energy shock and an inflation spiral. And the answer to all of it, apparently, is a bigger military budget and a new ballroom. Where this leads, honestly, I am not sure anyone knows. But I will be here tomorrow watching, connecting the dots, and telling you what I see. Every like, comment, and share you leave on this video tells the algorithm that independent analysis matters, that it deserves to reach more people. In a world flooded with headlines designed to confuse rather than clarify, that is no small thing. If this channel has helped you make sense of what is really happening, consider hitting subscribe if you have not already. And for those who want to go further, channel sponsorship and super thanks are what keep this show alive. Each episode takes hours of research, source verification, and fact-checking, and none of that happens without your direct support. There is no media corporation behind this. It is just the work, the research, and this community we are building together. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And thank you genuinely for being part of this. It means more than I can say.